Hello everyone and welcome back. Today I want to talk about why leadership is so important for your practice. Imagine walking into the studio with a sense of calm and control, with the ability to effectively communicate your vision and really inspire the dancers and designers in your process to bring your creative ideas to life. Now, I think we've all had glimpses of what that feels like, but training in leadership will allow you to access that kind of collaboration, even in the moments in which you're tired, you're stuck, you're frustrated. And it all starts by recognizing your leadership style. Most of us have different leadership styles, but today I want to talk about two leadership styles that I see very often in the creative processes that I've been part of. So the first one, are you highly motivated, a high achiever that demands a lot from yourself, but also from the team, that is full of passion, full of energy, that you feel sometimes like you're cheerleading others into the process. You feel like sometimes maybe you talk really fast to get a lot of things done, and sometimes you get frustrated because everybody else feels like they are going to us in a slower pace, and maybe they are not being quite up to the standard that you're asking from them, because they should know better and you don't understand why they are not getting it. If this is the case, if you recognize yourself in this, you may be having the pace setter style of leadership. Now, you get a lot of things done, and that is really positive. But the negatives of this style is that maybe unconsciously you're raising the level of stress in your creative space. And what that means is that people get into a reactive mode. They feel like they need to justify what they are doing. They feel like they need to prove their worth, or the worth of what they are creating to you, instead of accessing the part of the brain that is not the one that's reactive and immediate, but the part of the brain that we can access when we're a bit calmer, which is the part that allows us to be more creative and to problem solve. And the second problem with the pace setter is that if you're not there, the whole thing falls apart, because these people are so used to ask for your approval, to seek your validation, that they don't really understand profoundly what it is that you're asking from them. So if you're not there, then they don't really know how to judge if what they are doing is what you're after. So you haven't probably empowered them to be autonomous. The second leadership style that I see sometimes in the studio is the affiliative style. This is the style that very often we find when we're working with our friends. So we create this environment that is really nice to work in at first, but that very often blurs the boundaries between social life and working professional life. And what that means is that perhaps when the moment comes to have a bit of a difficult conversation with a collaborator, that feels harder and it feels loaded, because there is again, like, there is no that understanding of the boundaries. And also what it could feel like is that the mood of the space depends a lot on your own mood. So if you're happy, everybody's happy and joking. If you're stressed, then everybody is stressed. So it has a really strong, the way that you're feeling in the moment has a really strong impact in your team. And the third potential issue with this is that if there are new people coming into your process, people that are not part of this circle of friends, they might feel left out. So does any of this sound familiar? I am a choreographer myself, and I'm also a dramaturg, and I've been a dancer. So I've I've experienced this, I've seen it plenty of times. And that's why I consulted over 40 artists and organizations. I've done a lot of research over the past year to create a course really specifically directed towards the things that we need to be better leaders, because I really believe that that will make our processes better for everyone involved, less emotionally draining, and ultimately it will allow us to bring the best out of ourselves and out of our collaborators. And this sort of transformation of leadership, it's not just about theory, it's about actionable steps. And there are people that have done that research. It's entirely possible. And through the guidance of this, some of the, the most incredible teachers and facilitators that have been part of the dance, are part of the dance industry, but are also training in those other skills, can really help us to grow. And now let's talk about the solution. So I've presented with these two leadership styles that perhaps can bring about some issues. And the start of the solution is to be aware of them. But also, you need to also set up structures that will help you and your collaborators. For example, legal structures. And you'd be surprised with the amount of choreographers that don't know what kind of insurances do they need, even if they have been working for like 5 years. And also what items to include in each contract for each different designer, for example. But also to establish a structure that works for the well-being of you and your team, so that you don't have to carry the emotional load of yourself, of everybody, and the responsibility of the whole project. But mainly, and this is something that a lot of people are scared of, so that you don't need to sacrifice either the quality of your piece or the quality of the well-being of the artist involved. You can have both. It is entirely possible, but you need some training to do that. You might be thinking, this sounds great, but where do I start? So if you recognize yourself in one of those leadership styles that I was talking about, for instance, if you are the pace setter, you can start by slowing down a little bit, by trying to listen more to your collaborators and to really make sure that they understand what you're after. Give them space to really bring in their artistry into your process, instead of just looking to kind of like solve the challenges that you're giving them. If you lean more towards the affiliative style, then what I would say is try to set up stronger boundaries and to really understand what is a professional environment that works for you and your collaborators. And you could, if you have a really good relation with them, you could really ask them, and they will be able to tell you what works and what doesn't work for them. And of course, it's not something that's gonna happen overnight, but consistent effort and understanding of what you're after will help. But also leaning into the community and really understanding that there are resources out there that can help you do this. So in our next video, we're going to talk about something that is very important and we don't often talk about it, which is the cost of not having effective leadership. And the cost of it is huge. In one hand, it can lead to exhaustion, to high turnover of artists that work with you just for one project and don't want to work with you again. It can lead to mental health problems, and it can also include injuries, because a lot of injuries, as you know, happen when they're could be happening because of accidents, but a lot of times they happen when we're exhausted and we're not fully concentrating in what we're doing. So a lack of efficient leadership can mean that there is instability and there is some inconsistency in your team, and that you have to always start all over again. Whereas on the other side, an effective leadership style can mean that you're able to assemble a cohesive team of artists that works with you over time, and every time it's working together, obviously, and is more efficient and understand each other better. And that artists really want to work with you and, prioritize your project over other projects, and that your practice is sustainable for yourself as well as for the artist you're working with. So before we wrap up, I would like to invite you to think about what has been the biggest challenge when it comes to managing studio dynamics and emotional well-being. And if you can, please comment below to share the experience with other people, because I think that's really valuable for all of us to learn from each other. And because so many situations are similar, and we're all going through very similar challenges. And make sure that you sign up to our newsletter to get more tools and resources on leadership, but also to know when our online leadership course opens for bookings. Wishing you the best for your projects.